Morning.
Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting. Thank you, Mr. Brock. First order of business is to approve last month's committee meeting minutes. Motion made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Speak up, will you? I can't hear you.
You gotta stop talking.
Into the microphone?
He just made a motion to eliminate his salary, didn't he? He's typing that.
I never use the gavel, okay? I've been to...
Just lost your wing there, son. Peter, you lost one of your casters.
Oh, no.
Down goes
Oh.
Peter.
Oh, boy. I think I'll,
Which way did you vote in that DPW? Or facilities?
just broke that chair. I'm rocking back and forth.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. Welcome, everyone. The first order of business is to have the privilege of the floor. Anyone interested in speaking to the Finance Committee? Okay, we will move on. The first one is to request transfer of funds as attached for committee approval. That is item 2. Got a bunch of them? Oh, no, not that many.
That way, yeah.
Is it total of 14 or 23 total? 23, right? No. Total here, Amanda.
There's 3 separate.
Okay, so it's 54, 14, and 9.
And 9.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Strau. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 3. We have our dear County Treasurer, Mike Swan, to tell us a little information about the tobacco settlement.
Good morning, everybody. As I look around the room, I don't believe anybody was here but me, and this was all taken care of originally. So what I'm going to do is just try to give you a brief overview of how this whole tobacco thing came about and what's being done with it now. In the late, and if you have any questions as I'm going along, please ask, because this is kind of confusing a little bit at times. But in the late 1990s, the United States government sued the tobacco companies. And the basis for this lawsuit was that the health of the people that smoke was at issue. And they felt that because the government was paying for a lot of these health expenses, that the tobacco companies should actually be paying for that. The government won, and the tobacco companies were required to make payments, basically. And so what happens is the tobacco companies have to pay a percentage of their profit into a tobacco trust, and then the tobacco trust distributes the funds to the states. Now, New York State was one of the few states, I think California is the only other one, that decided to share that money with the counties. Okay, so Warren County, along with all the other counties in New York State, get a share of this. In 2001, which was when this all started, Warren County's share was approximately $1 million. Now, at that point in time, through NISAC, there were some options that were presented. One, you could take the money every year, take that cash settlement every year and go forward, or you could opt to try to sell bonds to get some money up front and get the settlement, or as in some counties did, they just decided to get all the money up front, take the bond, and that was it. Warren County decided in 2001 that we were going to do a 25% bond, which means that we were going to set aside 25% of the settlement money to go to paying for a bond, and then we got whatever we could. And we were guaranteed to get 75% of the settlement, whatever that would be. Now, in 2001, the total amount bonded was $4,845,000. Of that money, $4 million of it went to the public safety building, which is the jail over here, because that was the point in time when that building was being constructed and bonded. $35,500 went to the municipal center expansion. In the late 90s, early 2000s, there were several plans floated. I don't know if anybody is aware of that, about expanding this building. There was talk, and there was quite a bit of money spent on engineering and architectural work too, which one plan was to go to a second floor, a third floor, expand to the south, expand that way. So there was quite a bit of money spent on that, and that was part of that $35,500 went to that. And there was $809,000 was set aside to build a tourism building. However, the next year in 2002, that money was moved over to the municipal expansion project. So it was taken out of building that building and moved over there. All right. Then in 2005, it was decided, and this is also through NISAC, to do another set of bonds on the settlement money. All right, so Warren County did another 25%. So now we're at 50%. In other words, we take 50% of the settlement, and 50% goes to paying on these bonds. Now that money, at that time, was only $925,000 that was bonded from this, because this was a bond that was done through several counties at once. It was actually a $36 million bond, but we only got a small portion of it because of the way the structure was set up. That money, that $925,000 was originally supposed to go towards airport hangar debt service, but was later changed and rolled over the next year into the public safety building debt service. Okay? Now, when all of this stuff was done with these bonds, there was a concern that either the money would dry up, shrink, not be because of, and what is happening, less people are smoking, so there's less profit, so there's less money going into the settlement, so there's less money coming to the counties. So at that point in time, the counties that did do the bonds set up private corporations. And in Warren County, it's called the Warren Tobacco Asset Security Corporation. Okay? This is a private corporation that is established under New York state laws. All right? It has a board of directors, it has officers, there's a budget, a corporate attorney, annual meetings, annual audits are done, and the settlement money, the trust money, pays about $45,000 a year to this corporation for management fees. All right? Now, the Assets Corporation is an absolute private corporation set up under the laws of New York State, and I want to make sure everybody understands that. It is a separate entity from the county, okay? And it was set up that way on purpose because of what's happening right now. Because we're guaranteed 50% of the settlement money and 50% goes to pay the bonds, unfortunately, because the amount of money that we're receiving is shrinking, now we're down to about $800,000 a year instead of $1 million when it started in 2001. There isn't enough money being paid on those bonds to pay them off when they come due in, get this, 2060. Okay. Not only am I not praying I'm not here, I more likely won't be on this planet at that point in time. But anyway, so as a result, with this corporation set up and having the bonds in their name, when they default or whatever happens at the end, the corporation will be the fall guy, and this will not fall back onto Warren County. That was the whole purpose of that. So that way, the county gets the money. The county does not have to deal with the bonds. If there's a default on the bonds, the settlement money stops coming in or whatever, all of those repercussions fall on the tobacco corporation that was set up, which has no assets other than the bonds. So that way, the Warren County and the taxpayers are held harmless. Okay? Now, any questions about that? Did I explain it so you kind of understand it? Good. Wow. I'm impressed. All right, now there has been some discussion of late, and there was some things flew around about refinancing those bonds. All right, so, and just to give you an idea, the county right now is getting about $400,000 a year, and that goes, Supervisor Thomas puts that in his budget. I think it was $390 something and change, but it was almost $400. That goes into our budget every year, so that's money that we use to run the show here. And the other 400 and some goes to pay the bonds. Now, there was talk about refinancing these bonds. Some counties have done that in the past. The counties that I found that have done it did the 100% bonding, and they were already in default, basically. So the refinancing was done was actually pushed more by the people that held the bonds than the corporation, because they knew they were not going to get anything, that they were actually losing money, so they were more willing to refinance these things. Now, I did hire, or I shouldn't say I did, but the corporation has hired a fiscal advisor to look into this. Unfortunately, he hasn't given me the written report yet because it was just a week and a half ago we talked about it. But his recommendation is that the corporation does not refinance the bonds. They're so expensive to refinance. There's no incentive by the people holding the bonds to allow it, and there's no effect on Warren County itself. It would only be on the corporation. So what's the point? Why bother going through the exercise? Because basically, the county has no say in whether or not these bonds are refinanced anyway. It's a corporate decision by the Warren Tobacco Asset Security Corporation and their board of directors. Questions? Either I put you all to sleep or nobody...
Supervisor Simpson.
I may not have all the, I may not know what I'm talking about, but somebody owns those bonds.
Never stopped you before, man.
Somebody, you're
Yeah.
right. Somebody owns those bonds, so someday, somebody's gonna be on the hook for this.
Right.
Who owns the bonds? Are they,
They are owned by I should say they're put out by the Warren Tobacco Asset Security Corporation. Okay? And I don't know who bought them. I have no idea.
so they're out there? and
They're out there.
Still a lot of, I know I'm thinking outside of Warren County, but, so the cumulative effect of this thing is gonna create a hole somewhere in the financial market.
Correct.
Because all debt you gotta be paid, one way or another.
So what will happen is, and this is, I'm not 100% positive on this, but what happens is if when that 2060 mark comes around, and we're all enjoying our old age wherever we happen to be, the corporation will be attacked, sued, I don't know what the proper terms is, be called to task for the money. They won't have it. The corporation will fail, and that's the end of it. Now, if Warren County was to somehow get into the corporation, then whoever holds those bonds could say, well, wait a minute. The county was involved with the corporation, so the county should be partly held responsible for this. That's why, since I've been the treasurer, I have done everything in my power to make sure that this is absolutely a split. Okay? At one point in time, my predecessor had staff people in the county treasurer's office doing some of the corporate work and so forth. I stopped all of that. That's all farmed out. That's paid for. Everything has been completely separated from the county, so that there's no, I'm not sure of the legal terms, but there's no way that they can say, okay, the county was involved in the operation of this corporation.
Good boy, Michael. We'll keep you for a little while yet.
No, I
Supervisor
just,
McDevitt.
just read one of Travis's, periodicals on this issue, okay? As we can all appreciate, this is not the simplest of issues, but the net of what I took from Travis's reasoning was that we ought to just try to get out from under, that we ought to end it, that it ought to be somehow paid, done with, and I, again, not understanding the issues, that was the net of what I took from him, and is that even
Well,
plausible?
if that was the case, well, somebody would have to pay off all those millions of dollars out there. Okay, the corporation has no money to do it, so the corporation has to just let it go the way it's going. All right. The only way that it could possibly be done was if the county wanted to kick in the money somehow to pay that off. And I'm saying, don't do that. Stay away from that. We got a revenue source here of a little under $400,000. It's going to fall every year a little bit because the tobacco settlement money is shrinking every year. Was it the best decision in the world back then to do these bonds? I have no idea. I think at the time, when you look back at the record and so forth, it wasn't a bad idea to try to pay down some of our debt on the new building over there by bonding some of this. But that's neither here nor there. That was a decision that was made at that time. I'm not going to second guess them. But the reality of what we're dealing with right now, leave them alone. This is what the fiscal advisor has told me. This is what my gut's telling me. Just stay away from it, leave it alone, collect our money, and let the Tobacco Corporation itself be the fall guy.
Supervisor Brock.
Who owns the corporation? I mean, are there shares and?
No, it's not a publicly traded corporation.
How is it?
It's owned by the board of directors.
It's like a shell company,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
So if a business did this, I'm like, it's almost like we're involved in a criminal activity.
I wouldn't say that.
I mean, how?
Did you get that, Mr. Lamon?
Right on your name. Who's on the board and who's the council?
Council is Fitzgerald Morris, okay? On the board is, according to the bylaws, it's the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, it's the myself, the chairman of Finance, and the chairman of Personnel. And outside people. We have to have two outside.
You don't know who the two outside people are, do you?
Pardon me?
Do you know who the two outside people
One
are?
of them is Nick Caimano, and I can't remember off the top of my head who the other one is. No, it's not Don Salvador.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Oh, by the way, it's not my corporation. I'm just an officer in it, all right? Just so everybody understands that. I have basically no say in what goes on. It's all a decision of the board of directors. Yes.
Supervisor Seaver.
Treasurer Swan, is it possible for me to delegate my position on that board to someone else, perhaps Supervisor Dickinson?
You're not on it, so.
But as personnel chair, right? Isn't that what you just said? Personnel?
Oh, you know what? It's not personnel chair. It was because it was a combination of finance and personnel, so that person was on. Now that it's been split again, no, it's just a finance chair.
Thank you very much.
Can't wait to look forward to your next month's report. Okay, if there's no more questions for our esteemed county treasurer, let's move on to item 4, and these are referrals from the County Facilities Committee. This one comes from Airport, and item A is a request for a transfer of funds in the amount of $15,000 from the contingent account to cover the cost of legal fees and closing costs associated with Runway 30 land easement acquisition. And actually, to increase the capital project, we could probably lump these, right? Motion made by
I'll move both of
Supervisor
them.
Dixon to move both, second by Stroud.
We have a question for the treasurer.
Question?
I just have a quick question, and it's more just my out of curiosity. But these legal fees are to pay for the seller's attorney. Why is the county paying for the seller's attorney? Does anybody know?
Where does it say that the...
It's item A.
The contract information,
Item A.
it's not part of what's going on right, I mean,
It's
what happened was is when this additional money needs to be put in there because when the closing was done last week, there wasn't enough money in the budgeted item to cover the closing costs, so they moved the attorney fees out of the closing costs. And I'm just wondering, I'm just curious, that's all. I mean, I'm not trying to be a pain here, I'm just wondering.
I think what he explained to me is in order to get the closing done, the attorneys agreed to hold off on collecting their fees, and one other party agreed to hold off on collecting their fees. So that's why they transferred. I think it's just on a paper thing to get enough money in for I think the appraisal was off by a little bit or something like that. Is that right, Ron? Ron signed the paperwork, so he knows.
That the seller's attorney covers the costs.
For now, but we still owe them the money. That's part of the closing documents. I mean, I looked at the closing documents, and we're supposed to pay the seller's attorney's fees, which is almost 10 grand.
That's correct.
I'm just curious why, because that's not a normal procedure. I mean, I've done multiple closings. I'm just curious.
Mary Ellen might have an answer for you.
We're not actually covering their attorney's fees. Their attorney covered some portion of our cost. So basically, we're reimbursing them for something we should have paid for. We just couldn't at that time.
That's correct.
So he covered it for us because of this shortage in whatever budget code we didn't have enough in.
Right.
Okay, all right.
And so we're just reimbursing him for something we should have paid for to begin with.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Can you live with that one? Okay, we have a motion and a second for item 4A and B. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, moving on to item 5, referral from the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee. First is the Office of Emergency Services. A is to request to amend the county budget in the amount of $3,911.60 to carry over unused funds from the FY15 Hazmat Grant Program. Motion made by Supervisor Sieber, seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Under Sheriff, we have a request to amend the county budget in the amount of $9,670.22 to reflect the receipt of insurance recovery funds from a motor vehicle accident. Motion made by Supervisor Merlino, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Moving on to 6. Referrals from the Park Operations and Management Committee. Item A, request to appropriate funding in the amount of $5,821.97 from budget code A691.07 to the budget code A1625470 to reimburse the Village of Lake George for various maintenance and turf treatments at the Charles R. Wood Park Festival space. Motion made by Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, did you have a question,
I do,
Supervisor?
just real
Yeah.
quickly, and I think probably our county administrator can clarify it for me. We own jointly that property with the Village of Lake George, correct?
Right.
So is that 50%? We reimburse them 50% of the cost of the maintenance?
60.
Yeah, we own, yeah.
60 some percent. It's 60, 30.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah.
Actually, there are 3 entities, aren't there? There's the county, Lake George, and then...
No, it's only the two of us.
No, it's 2 of us. It's the village and,
6238.
6238?
38, right.
So that reimbursement to them is
62%.
their share of the maintenance?
I think it is.
I don't believe so. This is coming from parking revenues. They're transferring money out of the,
I thought this was for that turf where they fixed the grass.
Right.
Right, that comes from deferred revenue.
Oh, this is from the parking revenue?
Coming out of the parking revenue that we collect the cars, that's an account that covers maintenance at the...
So this is not a 6238 expense?
It comes out of that bank account.
So this is 100% to 100%. I got it. I know what it was for, but I just...
So this is 100%?
100%. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for that answer.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item B, request to authorize refund to Lake George Fishing Alliance King George Fishing Derby. The $250 partial security deposit submitted for an event scheduled for the Festival Commons, which was subsequently canceled. Motion to get this on the floor, Supervisor Strauss, second by Supervisor Frazier. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 7, referrals from the Public Works Committee, DPW. Now, these were all increases and decreases in capital projects.
Yep, it's all done in
At
committee.
DPW, we had to do them individually, but in finance, can we group these?
If you would like.
It's committee pleasure, but...
Why don't we group them?
I'll
Yeah.
group them.
I agree.
I'll make a motion, we group them.
Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor Simpson.
right.
I'll give you this one.
No.
Motion made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
You gotta watch
Moving
these.
on to 8, Referrals from the Support Services Committee, Weights and Measures. Request to amend the county budget in the amount of $1,374.22 to reflect the receipt of insurance recovery funds from a motor vehicle accident. Again. Motion to get that on the floor. Supervisor Strauss, second by Supervisor Merlino. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 9 is referral from the Tourism Committee. Request to establish a new budget code for enhanced promotion and authorize an appropriation of $400,000 from various budget codes to this code to account for additional promotion authorized in the 2017 county budget. Okay, motion made by Supervisor Merlino, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Discussion?
I have a question. Gene, didn't all this money come out of the reserve? No, this was budgeted, it's a budgeted item from pet tax, OCTAC. But we need a separate account to spend this money, suggested by the treasurer.
It's- right.
So that when that extra money was going out to different places, we could
Right.
keep better track of it
Yeah.
and carry it through the whole budget. So all it is setting up in a separate account.
Basically just a new code, right.
New budget.
Checking it separate. So we keep track of it, exactly where it goes, and makes it easier for us.
We asked for this because there was no other way to keep track of what was happening then. Because it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, it was budgeted, it was put into the tourism budget.
Right.
It was
It's
in
in
the
the tourism
Right.
budget, but we're
That's
just
what
trying
this is,
Yeah.
this is not, I mean,
Thank you.
it is occupancy tax money, but it's budgeted occupancy tax.
That's
money.
correct.
It's not coming out of-
There's no new money. There was no new money. It's just
No
money
money.
transfer.
It's in our budget for 2017, but we
Correct.
just want a separate account for it.
Keep our eye on it.
Keep an eye on it, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 10, requests items to be discussed by the county administrator.
I'm going to defer to Joanne on the Westmount one.
Oh, we just, need to transfer some money from the reserve, to pay expenses for the rest of the year. We didn't budget everything, because we expected everything to be closed out pretty much. And we're still getting some legal fees and some, software programs that we have to,
That's correct.
use in order to continue to bill, Medicare.
And C is just standard purchases of vehicles from our reserve fund. And A, those meet approval, all those transfers, the journal transfers.
Okay. So, getting back to item B, didn't we set aside like $4 million for, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is part of the reserve that was established by the board. I can't remember how long ago.
Okay, so it's not in addition, that's part of.
2016.
It's part of that.
Okay,
In other words,
okay.
The board set aside that, the money that we had, all of the approvals that we had coming over from Westmount were put into a reserve account
Right.
specifically to pay these type of things.
Okay,
Any
okay.
legacy costs or anything to Westmount.
So let's take care of item B then. A motion to get that on the floor, Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Stroh. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Going to C, anybody care to make that motion? Motion made by Supervisor Dickinson, seconded by
I'll second it.
Supervisor Garrity. Any comments or questions?
Oh, no, yeah, I was here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
We have to approve A too, Joanne? Does that need a, no,
No.
A is just standard
Right,
for...
right. Okay, and then item 11 is Finance Committee action is required on the following items, approved by Personnel and Higher Education, items 2C through F, and 3. Motion made by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Seaver. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, and the final item, most of you here, all of you were here last month. We had the mayor here who did a presentation on the amount of money it's costing the city of Glens Falls. Supervisor McDowell, you have a question?
just want to make sure that I can speak to it.
Okay. So, I think probably one of the committee members that was discussing this most and had some concerns was Supervisor Beatty, and he's not here, but what's the committee pleasure? Do we want to move forward with this? Do we want to wait and see if we have more information? But I mean, I've got my thoughts, but I'll take the committee first before I address Supervisor McDonald. Supervisor Garrity.
Well, I'm trying to remember what this was all about. I know all about the transfer, but why is it at finance if we're not doing anything with it? I mean, we're not doing anything with it. There's nobody, we're not paying the city any money, so why does it even have to be a pending item?
Well, that was a discussion whether we were going to pay them or not, because...
Well, we're not going to pay back. I think that was already given. We're not going backwards. And I don't think it had support of the committee to...
We didn't finalize that. We
Really?
Really.
I thought it was voted down. I thought there was only like one or two.
No, we never cast a vote. Supervisor Molina.
Table because there was so
Right.
much discussion about it, and whether we should do it or not do it. Does it start a precedent for other, things that go on between Saratoga County and Washington County? So it was tabled last time for further discussion. So I don't know if anybody really got into further discussions about it. But I'm personally still, I just don't feel it's right. Somebody wants to leave a job to go to another job to make more money. Why should you penalize the job they're coming from? Just in any business.
I thought the law already covered the transfer costs. That's why it's a moot point.
First 3 years.
The law already covers that if a person leaves within 3 years, that there's a payment made to the agency that he leaves, right? After 3 years, it's all bets are off.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
Anybody else?
I'll just say I share the same concerns that Supervisor Molino does. We lose numerous people every month, whether they're nurses, jail, corrections. We've lost other officers within the Sheriff's Department to the state police. I mean, it's an issue. It hurts us just as much as it's hurting other municipalities. And I think there's a precedent already, or a law that is already established to deal with this for the first 3 years.
Supervisor Sieber?
I would just agree. I think that at this point, I love our relationship with Glens Falls, and I think we should always be working to improve collaboration, both with our city and all of our towns, as it relates to the county. But as it relates to this specific issue, I think we open up a door that is going to be very hard to close. I think we're going to find a lot of expenses going out for exceeding a 3-year period. Like our county administrator has stated, there's a state law that's, we follow that in accordance, and anything over the 3 years, I think, will end up being incredibly costly, not only for the county, but when we start then asking for reimbursement for anyone over the 3 years from the city or from other municipalities. So I would be opposed to this.
Anyone else from the committee before I address Supervisor McDonald? Go ahead, Matthew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kind of had the feeling that was the feeling of the committee. And, I do empathize, we do have to, think of the big picture and, just have a really balanced, level playing field, so to speak. And it's not just Glens Falls and the Mid-Warren County's Sheriff's Department, it's other departments as well. But I would like to formally ask if there is any interest in somebody putting a motion on the table that would basically create a local law that would expand the existing state law. So instead of 3 years, it would basically be the same exact prorated situation with the state. Just let me finish. But to 5 years. Now, I think if you look at the actual numbers of what the cost would be, I don't think it would be a substantial cost to the county. I really don't believe that, because it would be a prorated number. Remember, it's not going to be the full reimbursement every single year. It's going to be based on the current model, but in the spirit of cooperation within the boundary of Warren County, I think establishing a better working relationship amongst the police agencies in the county would be a good thing moving forward into the future. We are moving in this environment of intermunicipal cooperation. We are taking steps in other areas. Purchasing is the big one right now, but I think this would be just another addition to that spirit. So I don't think this is necessarily this is not singularly about Glens Falls. From my point of view, this is more or less about Warren County as a whole and making sure that all the municipalities are working in unison toward the common goal.
Supervisor Gary.
Are you specifically talking about a single job?
No.
You're talking about anybody transfers
No,
intermunicipal?
I'm relating to police agencies within Warren County.
So you're talking about a specific job that benefits the city?
Well, there is another police agency in this county that, would if there's...
What other police agency in Warren County do?
Isn't there one in Bolton?
There is, but usually we're stealing from somebody else. No, actually, yeah, we tend to hire retirees.
I think that's if there's a law in place and it's being done, I wasn't aware of the law because I supported helping out the city, but there's a law in place and they're already getting funded to the law. Why, I think, boy, so if somebody leaves my community, but you're just talking about police training.
Correct.
But there also, somebody took issue, I believe we took issue with the number that was presented to us by the city saying, well, you're a member of the academy anyways, so why should we pay your dues for being a member of the academy?
Well, again, I'm more or less moving away from...
You just want to expand it from 3 years to 5 to get...
Correct, just for the agencies...
I can't support that, I can't, but that's okay. I'm just one.
Supervisor Sieber.
Supervisor McDonald, your passion and enthusiasm for the city is certainly well respected and noted. My concern is, we do have a mayor of the city of Glens Falls, and I'm not sure if your proposal is on his behalf or yours as the county supervisor, but I'm wondering, A, where is the mayor in the work here today, and two, what's the request from the mayor? Is this a direct?
This isn't with the mayor.
Okay.
This is just my effort to try to find a compromise.
Thank you.
Supervisor McDowell.
Do you think it would be possible to table the issue until the mayor, if he chooses, wants to come back and revisit the issue with the county, with committee members?
My personal feelings, no. I mean, I think this should have been vetted today. He knew about it. I mean, obviously, but in regards to Supervisor McDonald, I guess if you could get the state to okay us to get a 5-year contract for our members leaving to the state, then I would gladly approve of yours.
Yeah.
Supervisor Sieber, did you have a question?
No, great move. I just think that to the extent to table anything for the mayor to be here, listen, if it's important to him, he should be here.
I appreciate that. So rather than table, why don't we vote on the issue?
Sure. We can do that.
So we
can do that.
Stand up and be counted. We can record our votes. Would
you like to make a motion?
If I could make the motion in concert with Supervisor McDonald.
All right. So the motion would be to, what would you like to see, Supervisor McDonald?
No, I would have to make sure that, I don't know the specific language, it's not in front of me, I do have the language, but essentially expand the state law to a local, bring it down to a local level, but instead of 3 years, have it be 5 years. Same language, same spirit of prorating that number, just expand it out a little bit, and just in the spirit of cooperation within Warren County police agencies.
So this would be a local law? Is that?
That's what you said.
Okay.
Well, it has to come from the committee, so Peter's making...
No, right. He just wanted to...
That's right. So I'm taking the words from Supervisor McDonald, and all we need is a second, and then we can all stand up and be counted, and whether we...
I'll second.
So we have a motion, we have a second by Supervisor Dickinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion failed. I agree with your enthusiasm.
We still have to vote, though, on the other.
Yeah, we didn't vote on
On
Do we
which?
have to vote on anything?
Do we have to vote to remove that from pending, or is that just a decision
No,
of the
no,
board?
no.
Undefeated.
Oh.
Undefeated.
So it will just be removed from pending?
Correct. Okay, anything else? Anybody from, go ahead.
I just want to comment on how much nicer it is to have actually the road names on here on the agenda. Great job. Because I'll never remember what County Route 61 or
Yeah.
67.
Yeah.
Bridge Project 351.
Yeah, that does help. That does help.
Thank you.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn then. Motion made by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Dickinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.